Hey guys, thanks for watching me as newpairofglasses.com. I have a few topics I want to cover in today's video, but the first thing I want to say is that I hope everybody is doing well under the frustrating and emotionally stressful process we are in right now as we try and figure out the timing of the preliminary events and the EMPCOE and figure out what's going on. Brian and I talk about it. It's like Chinese water torture or death by 1,000 cuts. This is a long process of events, and it can be very frustrating at times, especially when you know what's coming and you're just waiting for the thing that's going to happen, that's going to, be super devastating and cause everything to crumble. And so I'm playing some video in the background of one of the ways that Brian and I have fun to take our mind off things and just have some laughs and enjoy life. And that's taking Stella and Gunnar to the dog park. Now, Stella lives with my kids, but I do have her part-time, and she comes and stays with us. And she's just a joy. She loves to terrorize Gunnar. He's older, and she's still, a puppy, and she's just hilarious to take out to the dog park with Gunnar, and it's just really fun to do that, to watch them play and just live life for a little bit. So I hope you have some things that help you do that you can remember to enjoy life and take care of your emotional health. We have lost a lot of people along this way, a lot of people that know that we're correct, that know what's coming, but this is pretty dark at times, and there's been a lot of people that just have fallen off. They don't log in anymore because it's just too much for them. So it's really important to have balance, to be smart, to plan, but not let it completely consume you. And Brian and I, we know everybody on the site, and we think about you guys all the time and wonder how people are doing. So I really hope you guys are well. Okay, on to the next topic. So it came to my attention that my channel was mentioned by a caller on a channel called Marfugal. Now, I knew of this channel's existence, but I really didn't, I've never really watched him. I don't know the topics that he covers, and so I was curious. I went to the video to find out what was said and what happened as a result of being mentioned. And so I'm using this as an opportunity to teach. So you may already know these things, but I'm using this as an example of how to teach people how to pay attention to detail, how to be really critical of things that you see, of how people behave, what they cover, and because we have to go to mainstream sources a lot of the time because we're not in these areas, right? We can use amateur video, but we have to go through the mainstream sources to see what it's really saying. And so we have to learn how to see past the fiction and the ways that they twist things and see what's really happening and what they are really saying. So this is a good lesson. This opportunity just kind of fell in my lap, so we're going to talk about it. So the number one thing I want to point out is that this is quite a studio. There's clearly a team working with this guy, and he later on, talks about that with equipment. I mean, this is a clear production, and this guy is very polished. He's clearly a personality that has been put in front of the camera. So channels like these take money, a good amount of money, and a team of people. And the more people that you have working with you, the less freedom you have, especially with the person that's funding the show, tells you what you can and can't talk about. And the one bad word that we will not hear said is plasma. And if they do talk about plasma, they want you putting it in the heliocentric model and in space. He's very courteous and polite, and, this is the perfect personality to look out for. So what I like to say is be wary of those that everybody loves, because there's a reason. the people that are trying to deceive are going to put people in front of you that are not going to offend anybody, that are not going to step on any toes, but that are subtly going to lead people in the wrong direction. So this is a clear tactic that they use, right? They want you to like that person because more people are going to stick with it and listen to it if you're not being authentic and truthful, because not everybody likes authentic people. Some people will love you, some people will hate you, but that's what makes a real person, standing for truth, right? Something important. Because not everybody wants the truth. So people that are open and want 100% the truth, no matter how it makes them feel, are going to love people that do that. But people that don't are not. So another strategy that channels like these use is absorbing your time and attention. This is a 3-hour video. They're taking up 3 hours of people's time, where you will not be out learning what's really going on and what we are really soon to be facing when you are watching 3-hour videos of things that in the large scheme of what we're facing right now are not important. Not that none of them are true, but it is irrelevant with what we are soon going to face with the EMPCOE. So I could not clip grab this video, so I'm just using screenshots, and I'm going to give you timestamps on the 2 things that if you want to go over and listen to this video so that you don't waste 3 hours of your time, I'll tell you where it is to look for these things. But the first one I want to cover is the first caller, and this is a screenshot of this guy's expression when the caller gets on and starts immediately talking about how nukes are fake and Ebola is fake and it's a scare tactic, and he talks about why, and you can see that he is looking concerned. Now don't worry, because he's got somebody in his earpiece that is going to guide him through this, but you can clearly tell that this is one of the things that this guy had covered in the video is nuclear war and disease outbreaks and stuff like that. So he clearly looks like, oh boy, what am I going to do with what this guy is saying? Because he is basically going against some of the topics that this guy is saying are concerning, right? He talks about the power outages, he talks about EMPs, and again, that's what they want you to think, because then all these issues going on seem separate, and they don't all seem connected to, which is leading us to the catastrophe. So towards the end of the call, the caller mentions that he has a website, and he pulls it up and he says, well, I can't push this on my channel. You know how they are. No, I don't know how they are, Marf. Why don't you tell us? Because we don't have a they. Who is the they that don't want you pushing things on your channel? So that, to me, anybody that says they, that's a big red flag that there's people behind the scenes working to produce this kind of information. And by the way, he also mentions through this that, oh, they have sources. Well, we don't have any sources. We figure things out ourselves. So anybody that says they have a secret source, you'd probably want to be a little bit wary of that. Who's the source? So the one thing he does say in this call is he mentions plasma, that this is happening because of plasma. So then we have another caller that comes in later in the video, and he's having a conversation with this guy, and he's bringing up, I believe, certain technology where they can cause earthquakes and things like that. And he, this Marfugal, he is completely enthralled in what this guy is saying. He pulls up CIA documents. And again, this is what's very confusing to me, to people that proclaim to be a truth channel, is if you understand that we are being lied to about things, then how can you ever cite sources or resources that come from the same people that are lying to you? Like the CIA, oh, they're not going to lie, or they're going to release top secret intel through something like a Freedom of Information Act. That is all a charade. So how can you cite sources of what they are telling you? One thing I learned is if somebody lies about one thing, you have to assume they lie about everything. So I just don't get people that go to any kind of documents or sources that the establishment releases under any circumstances. So then the caller mentions my channel, and he says on the subject of plasma, Mia's new pair of glasses goes pretty hard on that theory. First of all, he calls it a theory. It's not a theory. But anyway, and he asks him if he's ever heard of him. And this Marfugal, this is a screenshot of his expression where he overly exaggerates. No, I've never heard of her. Then he types in Neo's new pair of glasses, like he doesn't understand what the guy said. Then the caller corrects him and says, no, Mia's new pair of glasses. And he pulls up my channel. Now, after he does that, a caller that he was very interested in what he was saying now brings up plasma and my channel. And now he makes comments like the guy is paranoid. He alludes to the fact that the guy is talking like there's some government agent listening to him. So do you see how subtle and how crafty they are? Okay, so if you watch this part of the clip, you can see that he really is like, no, I've never heard of her. No, I've never heard of this before. Oh, wow. It sounds like somebody I should have on the show. And then he completely drops it. There's nothing else said. So I'm watching the chat while this is playing, and I get the clear evidence right here. One of the comments states, she has been brought up before. This guy knows who I am. He knows my channel, and all of that was a big act. And they don't want it being mentioned. They don't want plasma talked about in the terms of the catastrophe. And then their next strategy is this. So they pin a comment that says, Mia's new pair of glasses wants $300 to learn about plasma. Don't do it. So you see how subtle they are to turn people against this message, right? Not us personally, but this message, to pin that. Not all the other comments that mentioned that it was good information, that my channel was good. Not that one, but this is the one they chose to pin. Because they can't look like they're trying to steer anybody away from us as a source. So they have to do it very subtly. And I have to say, they did a really good job at anybody who might have been curious looking us up by the tactics that they used in this video. So it's very clear to me what's going on. And this is why it has been such an uphill battle, because there are many of them working in this system and working as this team under the controller's thumb, and there's only 2 of us. And the other reason why comment sections and chats work against us is because everybody knows there are, they call them sock puppet accounts or government agents. They're all on these videos, and people assume when they see comments come through that these are just regular people like you and I. They are not. These are government agents that go into comment sections to steer the conversation, to discredit people, to turn people away from certain sources. And, you cannot assume that these are people, regular people. So this type of stuff used to make me angry, but it doesn't anymore. To me, it's, we're way beyond that right now with the things that we should be worried about. Whatever reason this guy is doing this, that's his business. His karma's coming. But I wanted to point this out because this is how good they are. This is why most people can't get to this information and can't accept it. Another thing about comment sections is that they use peer pressure to steer people. So comment sections in YouTube, bad. Channels like this, waste of time. And to me, what is worth more to you? Around $300 to be in a community, to save your life, to have other people to work with, and get down to what really matters. And we're talking about a lifetime membership, however long our lifetimes with this technology is up, or hours and hours and hours on end of your free time every week on stuff that is going to be meaningless, while you are missing the information that you guys get on this site to prepare and be up to date on what the progress is and help save your loved ones. It's no contest to me, but clearly not everybody feels that way. there is stuff going on. There are deceptions. They have done a lot of things. But right now, that is not going to matter, because when society collapses, those groups, those systems will collapse. And the only thing that you are going to be concerned about is how to survive and facing the EMPCOE. So hopefully this has been a good lesson for some of you to pay attention. Pay attention to detail, strategy, motive, because a lot is revealed in those things when you keep your eyes open and you watch critically. So on to some other updates of what's going on right now. The flooding in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh is severe. Now, according to their statistics, they're saying the death toll has surpassed 300, but we know through video of what we can see that the flooding is just devastating there. They're saying 7.27 million people have been affected by this flooding. That is a lot of people. The flooding in China, same thing. They are just continuing to get downpours of torrential rain that are displacing people, causing fatalities, and things like that. And those are just two examples of some pretty big countries that are suffering from this flooding. We know what's going on all over. So now we're going to go to the big thing right now, which is the power outages. Now, we are seeing repeated power outages in different cities, and I've posted links to a lot of them that I have found, but it's going on everywhere. New York is the most widely publicized right now. That's the one they keep talking about, but they have lost power many times in different areas since the power outage on July 13th. And if you remember back, I posted an article back in June where they said thousands may die in cities this year as a result of heat waves. And they have been talking about heat wave, heat wave, heat wave. And in some sources, when there's a power outage, they will say it's due to a storm. In some articles, they will say it's due to a heat wave. Sometimes they just say electrical equipment failure. It depends. Some articles don't even attempt to mention a cause. And this is a direct way to make all these events seem separate and unrelated. Because if people think that some cities are losing power because of lightning and storms, and then some places are losing power from heat waves, it doesn't seem like one unified event that is affecting cities all over the world. So I want to challenge this idea that they're giving that these outages are happening as a result of heat waves. So they are alluding to the fact that because of energy use and air conditioning, that it is overloading the system, and that's why they're having outages. Now, why then does this not happen in wintertime? Because according to them, it actually takes more energy to heat an area than it does to cool. And one of the factors that enters into this equation is that in wintertime, when it's cold during the day and the evening. In summertime, it is hot during the day, but cools off at night. So when you're using heat in the winter, you're using it around the clock, along with the amount of energy it takes to actually heat a space. But during the summer, you are generally only using that during daylight hours. So the fact that they can say that these supposed heat waves are causing this electricity grid overload is ridiculous. And they use these heat waves to support their claim of global warming and climate change, because that is the only way they can explain the changes in the weather phenomenon in the temperature. But just an FYI to them, summertime is hot. That's what summer is. So temperatures in the high 80s, low 90s, even having a week or two of temperatures around 100 in most places is not abnormal for summertime. A heat wave is a persistent time of above average temperatures. And we all know that the air temperature on most days has not been warm when you are not in direct sunlight. They also have to explain the heat that people feel when they are out in the sun, which is very different than the ambient temperature. But that is another reason why they use the heat wave, because when you're out in the sun, that sun is hot. So these power outages are going to continue. They know what the signs would be. If you go back and watch, all the disaster movies, especially one we just watched recently called The Core, they show you that, lightning comes down and strikes things, people get shocked by electricity, even though they put it around the heliocentric model and a ridiculous storyline that they're going to the center of the earth to restart the core. But the point is that they know what is going to occur during this process, so they have to prep people ahead of time and have a strategy on how people will view these events so that they don't think that the extreme weather, the climate, the power outages, the gas explosions, all the crazy things that are going on as a result of one cause, they have to make people believe that these are all separate issues. Anything to keep people from the conclusion that we are headed towards a catastrophe, and not a partial catastrophe like most disaster movies will show, that it will be one part of the earth or different areas, that this is going to be worldwide and it is going to be devastating. So look for more power outages. Continue to watch the links I put on the current EMPCOE signs page. We will do our best to keep you updated on what we estimate as how things are going to unfold and when things are going to get bad in all areas, not just some, and what the sun is actually doing. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thanks, everyone. Stay safe, be good to one another, and as always, God bless.